Did you know that Logic Pro 11 now has a plugin called Chroma Glow that claims it can recreate the sound of $30,000 analog hardware? What's also new is you can drag a stereo file into Logic, hit one button, and it will create stems, drums, bass, music, and vocals of that stereo file. In today's video, we're putting all the AI-powered mixing and editing features in the new Logic Pro 11 to the test. And make sure to watch till the end where we're going to compare Logic's AI mastering plugin to one of my favorites, iZotope's Ozone 11. Before we do get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all my production videos. Let's go. All right, so the first feature I want to discuss is the new stem splitter. Now, stem splitting isn't 100% new. It's been around for a year or so, but to have it built into a DAW is new, and it opens up a world of possibilities as far as sampling, stealing drums from your favorite producer. You can do all kinds of things by being able to split stems, as well as do, remixes and so forth. So it's really easy to do. This is a stereo track called Heavyweights from my friend Trip Carter. Make sure to check him out on all the stream platforms. All you have to do is right-click and look for stem splitter. And there it is. I have it there because I used it recently. And then you just hit the button and it starts processing. It asks you which ones you want to split. Do you want vocals, drums, bass, and other, which is usually the music and melodies. So if you just want the vocals, you can unselect these and just have the vocal if you need a cappella for a remix. Let's split them all so we can hear what they sound like. And it processes it really fast. I've used these stem splitters from some of the ones online that a lot of you guys have probably used, and they take forever. So that is pretty insane how fast it is. So let's just solo all the stems. What I like to is they put it in a folder for you so you can close it up or whatnot. Let's hear it and just see what it did. And to me, it sounded just like the song. Just for reference, this is just the song. Just gotta unmute it and let's just hear that real quick. And then the stems. So not hearing any artifacts or anything weird, it's actually doing a very clean job of splitting up the stems. Let's split it down and just hear what it did to the different sections. So sounds really good. There's always that little bit of phasiness you get with stem splitters, but I mean, for remix purposes, I could use that drum loop, no problem. Let's hear the vocals, because that's really where the money's at.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I put my weight all on you. When things get too hard for me.
So not bad. You hear the drum transient coming in here and there, but that's pretty par for the course for some of these stem splitting softwares. It sounds just as good as some of the other ones I've heard as well. Let's just hear the bass and music. Sounds clean. The music's one that always sounds a little strange to me because you hear a little bit of the reverb of the vocal and other things coming in and out. And I mean, I'm sure it's one of the harder sounds to dissect and take apart, so I get it. But overall, it sounds really good. It works. And, for me, like I said, for mastering, this sounds as close to the regular mix as it can get. And if I just need to turn the drums up a little bit, like a dB on this, it'd be the perfect way to do it. Let's move on to the Chroma Glow. So here is the new AI powered, possibly, I don't know. They used AI a lot in the documentation, so I don't know if this is AI powered or not, but I'm sure there's something AI in there. It's the hot word of the year. But here is Chroma Glow, and what this does is it emulates what they said is a ton of different analog hardware devices, all with one plugin. So let me just go over the GUI really quick, and then we'll take a listen. I even want to compare this to Saturn 2 by FabFilter, which is another great saturation plugin, and just see how close the tones are together. So you have different models. You have modern tube, retro tube, magnetic, which is usually what a tape is, squeeze, which seems like some sort of overly compressed distortion. I actually like it quite a bit. And then analog preamp. You have a couple different styles, clean or colorful, a bypass below. So basically it will bypass below whatever frequency you put. Level in, level out, a mix knob. Always love a good mix knob. And this is your drive. Obviously, the more you drive it, the stronger it's going to be. And I like that they have a low cut and a high cut on it as well. And you can do that pre or post. So really straightforward plugin, which is always great from Logic and Apple. Let's play the drums that we separated and just have a listen to this. So it sounds kind of cool. It's doing what you would think, modern tube, and we're pushing it a lot, and we have it colorful, so it's definitely changing the sound. I like that the bypass below, you notice once we hit that and brought it up to about 1,000 hertz, it wasn't affecting the low end anymore, which can get distorting even faster than the top end. So it's good for adding just a bit of sizzle or something like that to the drums. Let's dial this back down and check out the retro tube. That sounds really good. Let's do a back and forth with the modern and retro just to hear the difference. So it seems like modern kind of retains some of the originality of the sound, where retro does actually color it quite a bit more. And maybe we switch to this clean and we do something else. Let's move to magnetic and see what this can do. So that one, a little goes a long way. Sounds good. I don't know if it reminds me of tape or not, but it does definitely compress things, which tape does, so maybe that's what it's doing. Speaking of compression, let's check out squeeze. Definitely squeezing the hell out of it. That thing would be awesome on parallel drums, for instance. And then analog preamp, which sounds a little just like warmth, like more warmth than the distortion thing. I like this one a lot, actually a lot. I've tried it on a couple other things, and I actually dig what it's doing. Really quick, I just want to see what the EQ curves are doing with this plugin. So I pulled up EQ Curve Analyzer, pretty cool plugin. It's free too, or you can donate if you want, but it's a good way just to check the EQ curve of what a plugin's doing. So here is Modern Tube, and if you bypass it, all it's doing is it seems like there's a small dip down here around 20 hertz, but it's pretty flat otherwise. And then you can see a little bit of weird kind of harmonics happening, which is a good sign. Let's bring the drive up and see what it does and how it changes. Okay, so once you get over 60, your low end and a bit of your high end starts curling up, and there's some things happening. And when you go all the way up, look at all that low end that boosts. I mean, there's tons of low end up to past 12 dB. So that's interesting that that's doing that. The retro tube, same kind of thing, just a little. Now the retro is taking some of the high end, which a lot of times a good way for, to fake retro is take some of the high end out. So let's just bring the drive a bit. Now this one's staying so far a little bit more true. And if anything, as we brought it up, you'll notice that it's flattening out more, which is kind of interesting. Look, at 70, we're actually kind of flat with that for the most part. And then we crank it, and once again, the low end starts coming up, and so is the high. So you get a nice smiley face, but not nearly as intense as modern, which is kind of interesting. All right, here's magnetic. Now, if I was going to bet money, if we turn this up, we're going to get a low end bump. We'll see. A little bit. It's actually still just kind of doing a smiley face, not changing. There's some weird stuff going on here, though. You are getting the low end bump for sure. And as we go up, though, it's pretty flat, and you're just getting a little more of the sizzle on top. And there we go. Just so all of them seem to, once you max them out, just crank the bass, some more than others, and then a little bit more on the highs. Kind of interesting. All right, the squeeze, really quick, just bang through these. Squeeze starts out with a low cut. That makes sense maybe because this is compressing it so much, and it doesn't want the low end to be squeezed too much, because as you know, if you compress something, the kick is the first thing to trigger the compressor. This is very strange. This little like cut at 9K, weird. Anyway, it just keeps going up so loud that we can't even see it anymore. So that's that. That was weird though. Look at that weird notch that happens. What the hell? That's strange. Never seen that in a plugin before. I don't know if that's a bug or what, but weird. Analog pre, last one. Now look at this. Okay, so this makes perfect sense why that sounds so warm. Look at this EQ curve at 0. And the tone changes a lot when you put this one on. And so, you know, it makes sense now. We didn't try this, but let me just switch to colorful. Okay, so it looks like it's the same curve. It's just probably what we can't test here is the harmonics, but it is what it is. All right, so we're not changing much, it's just boosting, and that's all that's happening there. Low end's coming up. So interesting just to see the curves on this plugin. All right, lastly, just for fun, I want to see how it compares to something like Saturn 2, which is another fantastic saturation plugin device. And, you know, this is not scientific, so any of you scientific guys, I'm sorry. But we're going to do retro tube versus warm tube and just see if we can get it anywhere close. All right, here we go. All right, so there's a nice amount of saturation happening on those drums from Chroma Glow. And here's Saturn 2. So not that close sound-wise, but you do get that tube sound from both of them. So, I mean, is that to say that Chroma Glow is the end-all, be-all of sounding like all the $30,000 analog hardware they talk back? Probably not. It's just another saturation plugin. But it is a good saturation plugin and one that is welcome to the Logic plugin family. I mean, you get it free with Logic. You can't really complain. Definitely dig the plugin. I actually wish I could use it in other DAWs too. All right, so the last one we're going to go over is the Mastering Assistant and compare it to Ozone 11. This isn't necessarily new in Logic 11. There's a lot of 11s going around, but it is part of the AI theme of the video, so I wanted to stick it in here, and I've been wanting to do this test, so you're going to hear it. So let's run it through the Mastering Assistant, and then we'll run it through Ozone 11's Mastering Assistant and see how different they sound from each other. All right, so it's now created our mastering chain. The Mastering Assistant by Logic definitely does not make it anywhere near as loud as the Ozone 11 one does. So let's do both of these with loudness compensation on. That way we're just listening to the actual changes that it did and not so much loudness.
I put my weight all on you. When things get too hard for me and I can't be strong for me, tell me come through. Just to renew before I lose it. Goddamn, so when the shit gets rough and I can barely hold myself up, you're the antidote.
Okay, cool. So, I made it a little bit wider. It boosted some of my mid-range, cut some of the low-end rumble area, which I actually don't like. I wish it actually kept this, and I mean, we could boost it back up, but I don't. We're just doing the assistant now. And I'm not 100% crazy what it did up here, but it did a nice little light job of making it sound better. Let's pull up Ozone 11 now.
I put my weight all on you. When things get too hard for me and I can't be strong for me, tell me come through.
I'm just gonna hit stop really quick so we don't blow your guys' ears out. Okay, so let's put gain match on here and hear this one.
I put my weight all on you. When things get too hard for me and I can't be strong for me, tell me come through. Just to renew before I lose it.
So as we can already hear, Ozone always does way too much with their mastering assistant, which is good and bad, but it did take out some of this low end, but in a different spot than here. And then it didn't really boost the 700. Well, it kind of did the 1K area. It gave a little boost. So same kind of idea here, right? And then didn't cut here, but Ozone always does this. It always boosts the top end. Don't know why, but it does. But as we can hear, we don't even really need to compare these, is that this is way more of a change than the mastering assistant by Logic. Let's just A/B these really quick so we can hear them. So I can't do this in any other way than just turning them on and off. I'm sorry, it won't be precise, but it'll be good enough.
I put my weight all on you. When things get too hard for me and I can't be strong for me, tell me come through. Just to renew.
So super different. I actually, which is funny, I prefer the mastering assistant version if you were going to use one of these over the Ozones. However, with Ozone, what I found is you can dial all this back like a lot. And so I like down to 10. This imager is crazy what it did. And this is actually, this is a pretty bad job for Ozone. Usually I feel it does a better job when you try these. But if you dial all this back, let's see if it will sound better. Honestly, I'll just get rid of all this shit. But let's hear this.
I put my weight all on you. When things get too hard for me and I can't be strong for me, tell me come through. Just to renew before I lose it. Goddamn, so when the shit gets rough and
So it sounds a little more realistic, a little closer to what a mastering job might be. The other one was just super over compressed. And like I said, I think it was a little uncharacteristic for Ozone's AI thing. But whatever, that's the problem with AI. It doesn't always work. But yeah, if I was to pick one of these, I'd probably do the mastering assistant one still, even with the changes and pulling this down. And, you know, I think it kind of shows us the story of AI at this point is sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And maybe it's kind of human-like in that fact that sometimes we're good and sometimes we're bad, and sometimes you have a good engineer and sometimes you have a bad one. So you just never know. And maybe AI is like that too. It's more human-like than we think. I don't know. I probably wouldn't use either of these as a mastering job, but if I was going to start from one, as of right now, I would use the mastering assistant. All right, so that wraps up my video on some of the AI-powered features I love in Logic Pro 11. They also came out with a ton of new production features as well. Make sure to check those out on their website. If you're interested in watching me mix vocals using just Logic stock plugins, you can watch this video right here. And if you need your songs mixed or mastered, hit me up at mixandmastermysong.com. You can find my courses and presets there as well. Talk to you guys soon.